Hello and welcome to Pillars of Wealth Creation, where we talk about creating financial success with a special focus on business and real estate. I'm your host, Todd Dexheimer. Now, let's get to it. Hey, are you looking to expand and grow your business? Are you looking for that edge, that next step up, that paradigm shift? Well, one of the best ways to get you there is through a mentor or a coach. And today's sponsor, Trevor McGregor, he is the man. He is going to get you to be laser focused, to get you onto that next level. And I know from experience dealing with Trevor, he is a master coach, peak performance coach, well over 10,000 coaching hours through clients all over the world. And he helps you achieve better health, more wealth and freedom and contribution than you ever thought possible. Have that coach that holds your feet to the fire. Go on to Trevor's website, coachwithtrevor.com. Again, it's coachwithtrevor.com. And there you can get a free strategy session with Trevor. And you can decide if he's the right fit for you and you're the right fit for him. Again, it's coachwithtrevor.com. You will not be disappointed. Hello and welcome to Pillars of Wealth Creation and another Hump Day Hustle. I'm your host, Todd Dexheimer. With me is John Stiles with Bridge Realty. John, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great, Todd. It is a great day to be alive.
Absolutely. So I am excited to be back at my office and my house. I've been gone for basically 5 days. I went to Lexington, Kentucky. And then right when I got back home, it was back at about 1 o'clock on Friday morning. So Thursday night, Friday morning, came in. And then right away when I got home, I had to jump on my computer, get in my office and sign some documents, get that sent out. So I finally actually hit the bed at about 3 o'clock in the morning, got up the next day, got my kids on the bus and hung out for a while. And then I had to leave, and I had a guys weekend get together that we always do. So then I was gone. So I didn't get back until midday on Sunday, and I was able to spend some time with my family. So it was finally nice to be back and back in the action. So
right, yes, always good to be home.
Yeah, always good to be home. So yeah, I went to Lexington and finally closed on the 84-unit apartment building that I've been talking about for it seems like a year now, but
Wow.
It's been a while. I think we got it under contract. Oh, I didn't look at the date, but it had to have been sometime in September that we got it under contract, and we officially closed on what would that have been? The 2nd? Friday the 2nd. So we officially closed on Friday the 2nd. I was able to then write an email to all my investors, tell them, hey, it's closed. So that was awesome, because my previous emails to all my investors have been, hey, it's being delayed for this reason. It's being delayed for this reason. Here's what's going on. Here's an update. We're being delayed, but it's going to close. I promise. So finally, now it's closed, and now the real work begins because it's 84 units, but it's value add. There's, a handful of vacancies that need to get filled. There's a good amount of renovation that needs to be done. So now can we implement the plan that we planned on implementing and, execute that properly. So now the real work begins. I'm going to be heading down there in just a few weeks. To hopefully make sure everything's going smoothly and continue that process. So
wow.
I'm excited.
So any big takeaways from all those kind of delays into the closing, or is that just kind of par for the course? Or?
I think, it's par for the course to have issues, definitely, to have quote unquote learning experiences, just things that, don't go exactly as planned, because it's just how it is. I think almost all real estate transactions that I've done, and even a lot of what you would think would be clean ones where there's no renovation needed and it's just a straight deal, it seems like something goes wrong. And so, you kind of do expect that. But this one in particular was difficult. It had a lot more issues. Some things that we couldn't really avoid. It just happened. Sloppy seller, really, and that's the reason why we had the opportunity. And I don't know if I mean, ultimately, is it seller's fault because it's his management company? But I would say it's some of the things that the management company brought to us that delayed things, quite a bit. So. But then we had other things. We had a phase one report that came in that I talked about previously that had that lead scare, and that ended up being nothing. We had our surveyor died like a few days before we were supposed to close so that delayed things because, he was doing the survey and then somebody else had to take it over and finish it, bring it to the finish line. So life happens, unfortunately, for him and for his family. But, obviously that delayed our closing too. And then the last thing that really happened that delayed us a whole month is that the property manager / seller gave us a report that showed 24 vacancies. And there was only supposed to be 9 coming into it. And that went, we went, holy cow, what is going on? Well, it was a quote unquote mistake, and they changed management software and all this. So they had this excuse of why this 24, no, it's really only 11 vacancies. Okay. Sounds great. We need to verify that that's truly accurate. So we want bank statements, we want reports. And then what I ended up doing is flying down to Lexington and walking the units to verify vacancy. Now there was only 11 vacancies,
Okay.
but there was more vacancies truly than that because there was a bunch of evictions and those people were evicted and leaving the apartment building. So there was truly quite a few more vacancies than that. There was another 5, I think it was. I can't remember the exact number, but anyway, so there was more vacancies. Luckily, I had a good seller that he was motivated, but he wanted to get this deal done and he understood what was going on. So he was flexible. He gave us a $50,000 a reserve account, basically, that is a rent guarantee. So if we don't collect the rents that we're supposed to be collecting because of this mix-up, then we can draw from that account. If we do collect it, then he gets that money back, and there's fine details to it, but basically it allows us to get this 50, and then he gave us an additional. When I walked those units and found there's all these not vacants, but evictions, I said, look, I mean, this has been going on, and I need another 10K off. And he said, fine, do another 10K off. And so he was very flexible. He really worked with us, which was great. Again, it's ultimately his fault, but I would blame it more on, his management company than him, but he understood it. So it's nice to have flexible sellers. It's nice to have sellers that, you don't want to take advantage of them. And I don't think I was by any means, but he understood, like, look, these are the numbers that we are told going into it. And now this is what reality is. Like, you need to work with us if you want to get this thing out the finish line. And he was willing to do that. Some sellers are just like, you know what, screw you. It is what it is. You want to close on this thing or not?
Yeah. May I ask, so that $50,000 account, was that your idea or his idea?
I can't remember. I was talking with the broker about it, trying to figure out ideas. I can't remember if the broker kind of said, hey, well, what if they put, some money up, or what it was, but I can't remember exactly who brought it up in the first place. But between the broker and me and, the seller, we worked out an agreement that was amicable, that, could get this deal across the finish line. Quite frankly, I wanted a little bit more, but it wasn't 100% necessary to have more. The 50 was good, definitely good. And I don't think we will spend all 50 of it. I don't. I think we will probably spend a little bit on month 1 and month 2 because of these evictions. But I think the property will cash flow very, very quickly, and likely he'll have a good chunk of his money back. So with the 50 grand and the size of the property, quite frankly, if we're just at, I can't remember, we are like 50% occupied getting all those rents, we would it would take us, I think at 50% occupancy, it would take us, I think it was 7 months to go through his $50,000. So to pay for debt service and stuff like that. So we've got, realistically, we've got like a 7 to 9 month, 50,000, that balloon for that to be able to still pay for our debt service and not be out any extra money out of our pocket. So,
Nice.
So yeah, it was fun. It was challenging. There's other little things that happened during the deal too that made it a challenge. And I would say the biggest takeaway I have is understand that this, you've got a lot of moving parts coming in this at the start and throughout this transaction, and learn how to be flexible, be creative, make sure you communicate with the broker and the seller, if you have that opportunity, of what your expectations are from the beginning and what they are through that whole process, so that they understand that, you're not happy with certain things, or that you have to make sure they understand what's going on. Don't just assume they do. And make sure you're very diligent. I mean, I think being diligent and really paying attention to what was going on throughout the entire process was really important to getting this thing across the finish line. I don't think it would have happened, or maybe it would have happened, but we would have gotten a bad deal.
Mm-hmm.
Or not as good of a deal. I mean, this deal is a good deal, whatever way you slice it. But, it maybe wouldn't have been quite as favorable to me if I would have just kind of been naive to the whole thing and said, you know what, I just want to close on this transaction. I'm excited about it, and I just want to close. That's the wrong attitude going into it. For me, I've got to look out for I've got a bunch of investors on this. I've got to look out for them. Is this truly serving them in a way that I want to be serving them? So that was kind of my mindset throughout the whole thing, is I would rather lose my earnest money and all that kind of stuff than to bring this deal across the finish line and potentially have a bad deal.
Yeah.
So, well,
that's some really good and interesting experience that you got there. So
yeah, it was fun. Lots of stuff we could talk about on it, but let's move on to what we're going to be talking about today, which is continuing our apartment series, and we're going to talk about building a team. So let's move on to that.
Yeah. So, when you're in any type of business, it's really important to have a team around you, whether that's within your company, employees, or outside of your company, just kind of partners within the realm of your business. So, just kind of from the experience you just had, one of the key players in purchasing a property is working with a real estate broker.
Yeah.
And so, let's just talk a little bit about the broker relationship and how do you select one, or what's their role, and that type of thing.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, you're right, John. Having the right team in place is extremely critical. And, any good company, you name any good company, you talk to the CEO, the founder of that company, anything, they're going to tell you the same thing, that it's their team, it's their employees, it's the people behind the scenes that are really making this thing work. It's not a one-man show, and anybody who thinks it's a one-man or woman show is not going to have a successful business for very long. They might have for a short period of time, but if you want your business to grow, to really grow, if you want to get a multi-million-dollar business or $1 billion business, you're going to need a strong team in place, and that goes for real estate too. And I think real estate, I guess every business is so critical, but real estate is very critical to have a team. And in real estate, you can have kind of a one-man show. It's so easy to think you can do it all yourself. But if you're going to really be successful, you need to make sure that you have the right people surrounding you. So, as you mentioned, real estate brokers are extremely important. So to me, the most important team members for a real estate investor, and they don't have to be your employees, but some of the most important ones are going to be your real estate broker and your property manager. And whether that's your own property management company or a third party, it doesn't matter. Property management is extremely important. And then real estate broker is going to help you get your deal. So those are two of the most critical ones. Of course, you also need, a bookkeeper, you need your accountant, you need, attorneys and all kinds of stuff. And we'll talk about everybody through like a whole umbrella of what your team should look like. But very important is brokers, because they're going to find you the deal. And they're going to make sure that the only way you're going to get fed is to get deals. And so brokers are going to be likely one of your main sources of deals. And with that said, it's still critical to try to continue to get deals elsewhere. Do mailings and work with wholesalers and whatever, advertise, talk to bankers, form relationships elsewhere, appraisers, all kinds of stuff. But brokers are very, very, very critical piece of that. So,
yeah. So let's focus on brokers for this episode then. What would you say is a good way to identify the brokers that are available to talk to?
Yeah, first of all, we're talking about apartment buildings or commercial real estate, right? So commercial real estate, you want to find commercial real estate brokers, not just a residential broker. Now, they can kind of be the same thing sometimes, but usually you're going to find a commercial apartment broker, and they're typically focused on apartment buildings, especially if you're going to go, and I should qualify that, like if you're going to be buying duplexes, up to maybe like a 10, 15, even 20 unit, residential agents kind of dip into that space quite a bit. So you can still use residential agents a lot in that smaller space. But if you're going to talk about a larger apartment building, I'm talking like, 20 plus, probably even 40 plus unit, likely they're not going to be at all into residential. They're only in commercial, and they're only focusing on apartments specifically. So those are the people you want to find. Now, how do you find them? They're going to be the ones that are listing properties. So you need to find people who are listing properties. Again, unlike residential, where you can just call up an agent and say, hey, I'm looking for a house, and they can help you find a house by what's listed on the MLS. And then they can drive you around, or you can follow them around and look at a bunch of different houses and write offers on those houses. Well, commercial isn't like that. You're not going to find that type of broker. They are going to have the listings. A lot of them are going to be what's called a pocket listing, meaning they're not going to advertise it out to anybody else. It's just going to go to their list of people that they know can perform and buy this property and be interested in this property. And the reason they do this is because they want to sell the property and they want to make sure it closes. So they want to have as much control of it as they can. And then the other thing is, hey, if I've got a buyer already for this property, why not take the full commission and giving that commission to somebody else? And that's another reason I think a lot of them do that as well. So I'll answer your question, hopefully, finally. You asked, how do we find them? Okay, so two of the best ways I have been able to find commercial real estate brokers, specifically for apartment buildings, is going onto like a loopnet.com. And when you go into loopnet.com, you can search your area for apartments the size that you want, and you can find out who's listing those properties. And you'll come up with a handful of names and write those names down. Now, you don't have to call them and say, hey, I looked at your property on 123 Main Street and looks really good. can I look at buying it? You can say that, but you also could just talk to them about, hey, look, I'm looking for apartment buildings in this specific area. This is exactly what I'm looking for, 100 to 200 unit building, blah, blah, blah. Those are great people to talk to. The other people to talk to then are going on to the big commercial broker websites. You got Cushman Wakefield, you got Colliers, you've got Marcus & Millichap, CBRE, ARA, Newmark, you've got who else out there? So there's several bigger brokerages that are likely in the city you're looking at that you want to get on their list. Also going to conferences that are commercial real estate, especially apartment real estate, if you're buying apartments. So specific to the niche you're looking in, those are really great conferences to go out and network with people, because a lot of brokers aren't out there. You'll never see a sign, at least I don't think so, of a commercial broker on a billboard. You just don't see them. You don't see them like, hey, I sell apartments. You just never see that. Where you see that in residential real estate, but you don't see that in commercial real estate. So they're not as easy to find. It's amazing as I've gone to conferences, the people that I've met that I didn't even have a clue they sold apartment buildings, but they do. And but they just don't advertise it because they don't need to. They don't want to. They don't want every tire kicker to be calling them. They want people that are serious calling them. Mm-hmm. So yeah, that's the best way I would say is networking, LoopNet, and contacting the big brokerages. And you can go right to their webpage and you can find out if there's any apartment brokers, if they have any apartment listings, and call those people.
So yeah, that's definitely a good thing to understand. Now, when you buy properties, say for this one you just closed on, did you work directly with that listing broker, or did you have a buyer's broker too? Do you do that in your commercial transactions at all?
So I don't have a specific buyer's broker. I try to build relationships with brokers that are active and are looking always at listing properties. And now in this case, this property wasn't listed. They went out and found it for me. It was just a relationship that I built with them. So even in commercial space, they will go out and they will find deals for you. They will go out and they'll bring you a deal that's on the market that's not necessarily listed by them, but most of them are looking at selling their own deals, and they call it hogging your deal, where you get both sides of the coin as a buy and the sell. So in this case, there was a property right next door that was I think it was like a 48 unit or 52 unit, something like that. So smaller property. And I said, well, if I'm going to come into the market, I don't want just 50 units. I want, 100 units at least. So I'll offer on this property, but can you find me a property real close by that somebody's interested in selling? And they knew this property right next door, literally right next door, and they knew they'd be interested in selling. So that's exactly what they did. I ended up not getting the 48 unit, unfortunately, but I did get the 84 unit. It would have been great to have both, but not, and this broker knows I've got 84 units. It's not quite as big as what I wanted. So find me something else real close by in that neighborhood that I can, do another value add to, and have some scale. So I'm actually writing an offer on a property, within just a few blocks of there, 100, well, you'll just keep it quiet, 100 units-ish. And then there's some other properties around that I'll, potentially be trying to buy as well. So, so to answer your question on that, it was just forming relationships with that.
Sure. Yeah. Well, the reason I was asking is, when you have a contract with a buyer's broker, they are representing you, whether it's, not to say that it's got to be an exclusive contract. You can definitely work on a non-exclusive basis. Mm-hmm. But the benefit of working with a buyer's broker is that they're representing your best interests.
Yep.
Whereas when you're working with the seller, they might tell you nice things about the property, but technically they're representing the seller and they're in the seller's best interest. So I don't know, just something to keep in mind. And I don't know if
here's what I'll say to that, John. And I agree and understand what you're saying, but here's what I will say about that. If you're going to do that, I think you're going to lose out on a lot of opportunities. You might be represented well because you've got your own buyer's rep, but you're going to miss out on opportunities because those brokers won't send that buyer's rep, your buyer's rep, the deal first. They'll send it to all their list and the people that they have relationships with. Mm-hmm. If nobody in their list wants to buy it, then they'll send it to your rep, and then your rep will bring it to you, and then you can buy it. So it's already went through 300 people that have said no. So you didn't get to it first. Now, not necessarily is that always a bad thing. You can still find good deals that way. You have to be cognizant of that's kind of how it works in the commercial real estate industry. So I would say you try to form relationships with the brokers that are selling properties. And of course, if a broker brings you a deal, like if these guys that sold me this 84 unit, they brought me a deal that was listed by somebody else, I'm going to work with them for sure. I'm not going to say, well, I'm just going to work with the selling agent. I will work with them 100%. So I love working with a buyer's broker because they represent me, like you said. But at the same time, you've got to also understand and be realistic about the approach that you may have to take, and that's working with the listing agent directly.
Sure.
So
yeah, I think it's a both and situation.
Absolutely. Yeah. And you have to obviously respect and be good to the brokers too. I mean, if one broker brings you a deal, don't just backdoor them and go with the selling broker. Don't, if somebody brings you a deal, you use them. I mean, but then the same thing at the same time is if Jim brings me a deal and it's listed by, Joe, and Joe has already shown me that listing, but Jim has a different perspective on it, tells me about it and gets me interested. I can't really go, well, now I'll work with you because, there's that conflict of interest. So you got to be careful. You have to, I think, just be upfront with everybody. If somebody sends you a deal that you've already seen by another broker, you just have to say, look, I've already seen this one. Appreciate you sending it to me. If I do this deal, I have to work with, so-and-so.
Yeah. So
you just got to be respectful to everybody that's involved and just be honest.
Yeah, that's great.
So what else do you want to know about, commercial brokers in particular?
So we talked about previously that, it's good idea to have your criteria set.
Yeah.
So that when you do talk to these brokers, they take you kind of seriously, that you're not just floundering around, not quite sure what you want. We talked about this before, but, I'll look at anything that's a good deal. So you probably won't get any deals that way. But if you give them very specific criteria, what you're looking for, then when they see that, they're, something in their brain will perk up to say, oh, it was that one guy that said he's looking for this. And
yeah. So. Yeah, and you have to understand too that these guys are being approached by tons of people. There's people with money that are wanting to buy buildings. Everybody says they're the best thing out there. So they're approached by a lot of people that want to buy deals. And so you have to make sure you're continually communicating with those brokers, and don't just assume because you told them one time that you're looking for real estate and you told them very specifically what you're looking for and that you're the best thing since sliced bread. Don't expect that they're going to bring you every great deal off market, because they're not, unless you have constant communication with them without being a pest, of course, because you don't want to overdo do it either. But if you have good relationship building and constant communication with these brokers, you're going to have a lot better opportunity of getting the true off-market deals that have good meat on their bones, and that you can get for quote unquote under market value. Those are the deals you're really looking for. And the only way to do that is to build strong relationships with these brokers. So
Yeah, no, I think you've covered it. So great information.
Yeah. Well, and I would, I would go into it. So like I said, you can contact these people from LoopNet, but instead of, going in and just talking to them once, email them, follow it up with a phone call, with a text, make sure you meet with them face to face. I think that adds a ton of value. So many people want to just do things electronically because it's easy, through the phone because it's easy. But I think you really need to meet with people face to face. That helps now when they see, an email from Todd Dexheimer, they've actually visually can see who I am and feel connected. There's always a major level of connection once you actually meet somebody, shake their hand, talk to them, look at them in the eyes. That's a big value add right there. So meeting them is huge. So
yep. Yeah, anything else about brokers then?
Yeah, I would say, a couple things. Brokers are salespeople, right? And there's good brokers, there's bad brokers, and there's those in between. Some brokers are going to be extremely honest with you about rents and all that kind of stuff and expectations. Some brokers are going to sell you on rents and the area and that type of stuff. So you have to understand what you're doing. It's not that they're necessarily being mean and misrepresenting, but they want to get a sale done. So what they're saying may not be completely untrue or unheard of, but they may oversell you a little bit. So you have to really do understand the market. You have to do your homework. You have to have some of the other team members that I'll talk about, in the next episode, like your property manager and stuff like that. So just to understand who they are, right? They're and understand who they're representing. Like you said, if you have a buyer's broker, you're likely getting represented a little bit better. That buyer's broker has your best interest in mind. So they might say, well, I know this guy says it's a C+ property, but I'd probably call this a C class area versus a C+. And I know they say rents are increasing by, 3 to 5% a year, but I'm really seeing that they're only increasing by, 2 to 4% a year. And so, that's kind of what you've got to be aware of as you're going into it. Someone will tell you straight up exactly how it is, and someone will, feed you a little bit. And that goes with the pro formers too. You can't just trust pro formers. You've got to do your due diligence and make sure that you can actually get what they're saying you can get. A pro forma is a forward-looking statement. So let's say we get $600 a month for rent. Right now, the broker's saying you can get it to 7. I know you can, and then you're buying it on that.
Right.
So you just be careful with, understand who you're dealing with. Like I said, some are fantastic, some are just okay, and then you've got some that maybe are a little shady sometimes. And that's in any industry, right? And that's going to go, that's the same thing with any other team member that I'm going to talk about. And the same thing goes there. So, some of the other things, do what you say you're going to do. If you're interested in buying properties and you're actually in the market to buy properties and you're ready to make offers and close, make sure you're ready to make offers and truly close. You always want to do what you say you're going to do. If you can't truly close on a building, you're just out there fishing. You're misrepresenting what you're doing, and you're going to burn bridges quickly. I think there's nothing wrong with, if you're wanting to get into the industry and you're going to be ready, let's say 6 to 12 months from now, or even longer, just say to the broker, hey, you know what? I'm wanting to put an apartment under contract this size in, 6 to 12 months. But until then, I'm not ready right now. I just want to analyze this market. I want to get more comfortable with what's going on. Can you send me offering memorandums and profit and loss statements and rent rolls and stuff like that for your current listings and any new listings you have? And can you get me some recently sold ones, just so that I can get comfortable with the market? If that broker knows that, great. But if they think that you're actively going to be buying and you're writing offers and all of a sudden you get a property under contract and you can't close it because you're not ready, you're just doing yourself a big disservice. Word's going to spread. So make sure that, you do, it's important to get offers out there, but only when you're actually truly ready to close. So,
yep.
What else? I mean, brokers, the other thing with brokers, they're huge value to you with referrals. They know a ton of people. So these guys know property managers, they know lenders, they know attorneys, title agencies, appraisers, inspectors, contractors, all that kind of stuff. They're always hearing from their, investors about this deal, that who they're using and who's good or who's bad and stuff like that. So referrals from brokers, really big. I think a lot of brokers, especially if they're selling a value add deal, here's what they want. I mean, what do they want? They want to sell you a good deal that you can buy. You can do your value add to it. And then in 5 years or less, you'll sell it and you'll list it with them. So now they get 2 commissions, and the second commission is even bigger because they're, now you're listing it for longer. So they want to see your success as well. Well, hopefully they want to see your successes as well. So I think a lot of them will give you good referrals. Of course, you've got to cross-reference those, but yeah. What else?
Yeah.
Any other questions or comments on what I've blabbed about?
No, I mean, coming from being a real estate agent myself, coming from more of the residential side, but, breaking into the commercial world a bit. On your last comment there, we definitely want to see our customers succeed.
Yeah.
For many different reasons. The one you mentioned, hopefully, will be the go-to realtor for that particular client again.
Yeah.
And also, we want to be the one that's referred to when somebody says, "Oh, you just got an apartment building," or whatever it was. Who did you use? I want to make sure that the experience was great, and yeah.
This just goes with the business owner, really, or smart business person. As a business person, you're better off in the long run representing everything accurately, or as accurately as possible, and explaining the situation, because you're going to get more business in the end if you do that, and with less work, right? So if a realtor, a commercial real estate agent comes to me, sells me a property, and they promise me the world on this property. Oh, the rents, you can get up to $900 a month. You can do this. It's a B+ class property, but it's going up. Look at all these things that are happening in the area. And that's completely misrepresented. And this area is going down, and they know that, such and such employer already announced that they're leaving in 2 years. And, the rents are going to max out at $800 a month. Am I going to use those guys ever again? Am I going to tell other apartment owners to list with them? There's no freaking way I'm going to talk with those guys again or deal with them again. Or at least anytime I do deal with them, I'm going to go in very, very guarded, but they're not going to get any listing of mine. Never. But if they tell me the truth, they're going to get my listings. I'm going to go to them anytime I want to buy, and I'm going to be asking them to help me find this property. There's a lot of times where you can find a property. You got a property that you like and you want to buy it. You call up a broker you really like and trust, and you say, "Hey, get me this deal. I love this property. Here's what I could pay for it. Get me this deal." And they'll go and hound it for you and get that deal for you. But if you don't trust them and don't like them, you're never going to ask them to do it. And then you're never going to tell your buddies that own apartment buildings to sell with this guy who's a crook. It's just not going to happen. So hopefully the brokers out there, either that are listening or just out there, are doing it right. And that goes with anything in business. I mean, anytime you start taking advantage of people, you can make more money up front, but you're always going to lose in the end. You're always going to lose in the end.
Yeah.
So.
There's actually been many times where I've advised my clients, against a property. Occasionally I work with out-of-state investors, and, I'm their eyes and ears at the property, and I'll report back to them, you probably don't want this one. I don't really think it fits your criteria. Whereas, I could say, oh yeah, this is great. But, I think that's not that this is my reason for doing it. I'm doing it because I'm being honest, but yeah. I think it's building trust with them.
Well, it is. I mean, it shouldn't be your motivation. Truly shouldn't be your motivation that, it's going to get me more business in the end. But it should be part of you understanding if you're honest and open with people and you're serving their best interest, it's going to end up resulting in good things. It's going to hurt you in the short term, maybe, because maybe that guy now doesn't buy a property or doesn't buy that property. But in the end, it's going to serve you. I can guarantee it. It'll always come back in a positive way if you're doing things the right way.
Yep.
Yeah. So, okay. I think that's really it. A department, brokers. I think really to recap it, it's just really important to build positive relationships with these brokers to really make sure they understand your criteria and what you're looking for. And to make sure they understand that you're a serious buyer and actually in the game. Writing offers is really important on properties. You want to analyze their deals that they give you, and you want to get back to them. And that's the other thing. I think communication is really big, and I kind of hit on that, but you want to make sure that a broker sends you a deal. Let's say it's a 100-unit deal, and you look at it, and it's not even close. You want to tell them that, thanks for bringing me this deal. Unfortunately, it doesn't work for me, and this is why. I'd love to see your next deal. You want to make sure they understand that, because they want to know why deals don't work. They want to give positive or negative feedback to their sellers too. Like, hey, I brought it to one of my guys who's pretty serious, and he says this thing's got warts, and this is what's going on. They want to hear that feedback because they want to be able to get the sale done. I mean, that's, and if they don't have anybody telling them why they're not doing the deal, it's hard to give feedback to the seller without that. So they want to hear that as well. And that's going to get you kind of up, I think, a little higher on their list. Again, don't be a pest. Don't be calling them every day, telling them you want to buy a deal, and that's all you talk about. But and then eventually you got to make offers on deals. If you never make an offer on a deal, you're probably never you're going to really get a deal, right? You got to make offers, even if the numbers don't quite work. If they're close, make an offer, and helps you negotiate, helps you get on the broker's list, all that kind of stuff. So, that's really about it. So next week, John, we will go through the rest of our team. We'll talk about property managers, which we'll talk about quite in depth. And then we will talk a little bit too about some of the other team members, contractors, accountants, attorneys, and the likes. So any questions or comments on anything I've said so far?
No, I think that's great. Cool. Again, we can't, once you get into the big realm of real estate, you're going to recognize that you can't do it. You can only go so far by yourself.
Yeah.
So, it's definitely important to understand who the team members are to be looking for, and then how to find good ones. So.
Absolutely. Awesome, John. Well, I appreciate it. And you have a great rest of the day. Make every day a Saturday, man.
You too.
Hey, are you looking to expand and grow your business? Are you looking for that edge, that next step up, that paradigm shift? Well, one of the best ways to get you there is through a mentor or a coach. And today's sponsor, Trevor McGregor, he is the man. He is going to get you to be laser focused, to get you onto that next level. And I know from experience dealing with Trevor, he is a master coach, peak performance coach, well over 10,000 coaching hours. through clients all over the world, and he helps you achieve better health, more wealth and freedom and contribution than you ever thought possible. Have that coach that holds your feet to the fire. Go on to Trevor's website, coachwithtrevor.com. Again, it's coachwithtrevor.com. And there you can get a free strategy session with Trevor. And you can decide if he's the right fit for you and you're the right fit for him. Again, it's coachwithtrevor.com. You will not be disappointed.